My name is Deborah Gilfillan, and I was 32 years old the night my parents told me my brother was dying and demanded $15,000, like it was a vending machine transaction. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I hung up and went back to sleep. At 2:17 a.m., my phone lit up with my mother's name. She was calling from Lake Tahoe Voice, already breaking before I even said hello. My younger brother Jason was in the ER, broken ribs, casino incident, internal bleeding. They needed money now. $15,000 or he wouldn't make it through the night. I told her to call my sister. Then I powered my phone off. That decision didn't come from cruelty. It came from 10 years of conditioning finally snapping. I live alone in Denver. I've been here 8 years. Structural engineer. Good salary, quiet apartment. No roommates, no chaos. I built this life carefully because growing up, nothing was ever stable unless I made it so. I'm the oldest of 3. Jason is 4 years younger. Lila, our baby sister, is 3 years younger than him. Dad retired early from the Nevada Highway Patrol with a pension. Mom never worked outside the house. We grew up in North Las Vegas, nothing glamorous but comfortable. Until Jason was born. The second he arrived, the rules changed. He wasn't just a child, he was the future. The son who could do no wrong. The one everyone rearranged their lives around. When he failed, it was because the world didn't understand him yet. When Lila came along, she became the princess. Soft-spoken, camera-ready, always one opportunity away from making it big. Me, I became the solution. Help your brother. Don't upset your sister. You're the oldest, Deborah. Family comes first. Here's what that actually looked like. $28,000 for Jason's UNLV tuition. I was 22, fresh out of college, moved back home, and worked 3 jobs. Construction during the day in 110-degree heat. Waiting tables at night. Freelance CAE work on weekends. 4 hours of sleep for 12 months. Jason dropped out after 1 year. College wasn't his vibe. Mom hugged him. Dad took him to a game to cheer him up. No one ever mentioned my money again. $480 a month for Lila's Jeep Wrangler, straight from my paycheck. She texted me heart emojis and posted photos online captioned, "Big Sister Goals." Never mentioned the payments. $9,000 to bail out maxed out credit cards. Mom woke me up sobbing at 3 in the morning. Gaming equipment for Jason. Content creation expenses for Lila. I transferred the money before I even stood up. It was never the last time. Every no was punished the same way. Mom cried. Dad went silent. Jason called me selfish. Lila disappeared until she needed something. So I started keeping a spreadsheet. Emergency repairs, deposits, medical bills, loans that were never repaid, $127,000. Every dollar earned by my hands. By the time I moved to Denver at 24, the requests just switched platforms. Venmo, Zelle, just this once. I kept saying yes because the guilt was heavier than my bank balance. I have a boyfriend now, Ethan. Calm, observant. The kind of man who listens without interrupting. He's asked me more than once why I still answer those calls. I never had a good answer. The night Jason went to Tahoe, I finally understood why. They posted everything. Private jets, designer outfits, stacks of chips, Jason throwing money like it was air, Lila dripping in jewelry. Then the text started. Can you send $800 real quick? You're hoarding money like a dragon. Hope you die alone. When my parents called, claiming Jason was dying, something in me went very still. After I hung up, I didn't feel triumph. I felt free. That was the night everything changed. I didn't sleep because I was calm. I slept because something inside me finally shut down. For a full minute after I ended the call, I lay there staring at the ceiling, waiting for the familiar surge of guilt to crash into my chest. That tight, panicked feeling that always came whenever I disappointed them. The voice in my head that said, "You're a bad daughter, a bad sister, a selfish woman who puts money before blood." It never came. Instead, there was a clean, almost surgical silence. No anger, no fear, just clarity. But I wasn't reckless. I wasn't about to let my brother actually die because of resentment. I might have been done being manipulated, but I wasn't a monster. So before I powered my phone all the way down, I did one thing my parents never expected. I called the hospital. Jason had listed me as his emergency contact years ago. Mostly because my parents hated paperwork and always shoved it at me. I knew exactly which hospital Mom had named. I knew which questions to ask. The nurse who answered sounded bored. Not rushed, not breathless, not panicked. "Hi," I said, keeping my voice steady. I'm calling about my brother, Jason Gilfillan. I'm a family member. Can you give me a status update? She put me on hold. 30 seconds, maybe less. He's stable, she said when she came back. I can't go into details, but he's not in immediate danger. Stable. Not dying, not coding, not on life support. My hand tightened around the phone. So, no collapsed lung, I asked carefully. No internal bleeding. No emergency surgery required tonight. There was a pause. No, ma'am. He has rib fractures and bruising. Painful but manageable. He's being monitored. I thanked her, hung up, and stared at the dark screen of my phone. They lied. Not exaggerated. Not misunderstood. They fabricated a medical emergency to extract $15,000 from me, using my brother's life as leverage. That realization didn't make me cry. It made something detach. I unplugged my charger, powered my phone all the way down, and placed it face down on the floor like it was something contaminated. Then I lay back and let the memories come. The little girl who learned early that praise came only after sacrifice. The teenager who worked overtime while her siblings chased dreams without consequences. The woman who postponed vacations, relationships, home ownership because someone always needed rescuing. All of it ended with one phone call. I didn't feel revenge. I felt release. The next morning, sunlight poured across my bedroom floor like nothing had happened. I woke at 8:32 a.m., made coffee, folded laundry, watered my plants. Ordinary rituals. Grounding rituals. My phone stayed dead until nearly 10. When I finally powered it back on, chaos detonated. 61 missed calls. 147 messages. Voicemails stacked so deep they blurred together. My mother's texts started pleading and turned venomous within minutes. They had to shock him again. He's brain dead now. You did this. You murdered your brother. My father sent one message. He flatlined twice. We're waiting for your money. Then Lila went nuclear. She posted a video from the ER hallway, strategic angle, smeared mascara, trembling voice. Claimed her brother was on life support while his wealthy, heartless sister refused to help. She tagged my full name, my company, my city. I watched it once, then again. And for the first time in my life, I didn't rush to fix it. I started documenting. Screenshot, timestamp, folder labeled evidence. Because somewhere between the lie and the silence, I stopped being their solution. And I started becoming their problem. By noon, my name didn't belong to me anymore. It lived on screens, warped, dissected, passed between people who had never once asked me for the truth. Lila's video spread faster than I expected, faster than logic ever does when emotion is involved. 30 seconds of tears, shaky breath, and carefully chosen words was all it took. She didn't say I refused to help. She said I was letting him die. She repeated the number like it was a weapon. $15,000, $15,000. That's all it would take. She made sure to mention my job. Structural engineer. 6 figures. She made sure to say my city-like distance itself was proof of abandonment. The comments flooded in. How can someone be this cold? Blood is blood. Money over family is evil. People I hadn't spoken to in years found their voices. Cousins, aunts, former neighbors, church members who remembered me as the quiet girl who always helped clean up after potlucks. They all had opinions now. I watched it unfold from my kitchen table, cereal going soggy in the bowl, my phone vibrating nonstop like a trapped insect. Every few minutes, another post went up, another photo. Jason on a gurney, Jason with an oxygen mask. Jason groaning while Lila held his hand just long enough for the camera to catch it. I noticed the details because that's what engineers do. The lighting was always good, the angles intentional, the captions perfectly paced. This wasn't panic. This was performance. Ethan came over around 1. He didn't ask why I looked like I hadn't slept. He didn't tell me what I should do. He just set his keys down, read the room, and sat beside me. You're not shaking, he said quietly. That's not how you usually react. I already checked the hospital, I replied. He's fine. Ethan exhaled slowly like he'd been holding that breath since the night before. Then whatever they're doing, it's not about saving him. No, I said, it's about breaking me. The messages kept coming. My mother left a voicemail so hysterical it felt rehearsed. My father accused me of destroying the family. Jason texted from an unknown number, just one line. That one didn't hurt. It confirmed something. Then my phone rang with a blocked Nevada number. I answered. This is the credit department at Harrah's Lake Tahoe, the woman said. We're calling regarding an outstanding casino marker connected to your brother. Your information appears on the application. We need to verify. I cut her off. I didn't authorize anything. If my name is on that paperwork, it's fraud. There was a pause. Typing. Ma'am, The address listed is Denver, Colorado. My old address. My chest went cold. That information was used without my consent, I said evenly. You'll need to forward this to compliance. She agreed, gave me a case number, hung up. That was the moment the story changed shape. This wasn't just emotional abuse anymore. It was criminal. I pulled my credit report. Clean for now. They'd tried to open the line, but it hadn't fully cleared. The folder on my phone stopped being therapy. It became a case file. I emailed the casino's general counsel, attached screenshots, time-stamped posts, proof I'd been in Denver the entire time, CC'd my lawyer. Then the hospital billing department called. Your brother is stable, the woman said. The ER bill is approximately $3,200. Any additional procedures would require authorization. Additional, I asked. The elective rib plating surgery. It's optional in his case. Optional. I sat back in my chair. So the $15,000 wasn't about saving his life. It was about upgrading his treatment and covering gambling debt. I declined payment, told them to call his parents. Then I muted every group chat. Not because I was overwhelmed, because I was done being accessible. That afternoon, Lila launched a GoFundMe. The title said Emergency Life-Saving Surgery. The description repeated every lie. By evening, it had raised over $20,000. I saved every screenshot, because the louder they got, the more evidence they created against themselves. And I stayed silent. For the first time in my life, I let the fire burn without throwing myself into it. The silence was the hardest part. Not the screaming voicemails, not the accusations, not even watching my own name dragged through comment sections by people who thought bloodlines were contracts. It was the quiet moments in between when my phone stopped vibrating just long enough for my thoughts to catch up with me. By the next morning, the GoFundMe had climbed past $23,000. Every donation came from someone who believed my brother was dying. I knew better. I started making calls. First, I locked my credit with all 3 bureaus. Froze everything. Alerts on every inquiry. I wasn't waiting to see how far they were willing to go with my identity. Then I filed a consumer fraud complaint with the Colorado Attorney General's office. It felt surreal typing out my own family's names under suspected fraudulent activity. But once I started, I couldn't stop. I attached hospital documentation showing Jason's actual condition, screenshots of the luxury Tahoe trip, the timeline of the fabricated emergency. Reference number generated, complaint submitted. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Hospital billing. Ma'am, your brother was discharged this morning, the woman said. Standard rib fracture care, pain management. He's expected to make a full recovery. Discharged. No machines, no life support, no imminent death. They picked him up an hour ago, she added. Your parents were here. I thanked her and ended the call. Then I sat at my kitchen counter and laughed. Not hysterically, not loudly. Just a single humorless breath that escaped my chest. They had pushed the lie so far they couldn't pull it back. And now it was collapsing under its own weight. Around noon, the detective I'd emailed the night before responded. The fabricated medical emergency significantly strengthens the fraud case. Please forward any additional evidence of premeditation. I forwarded everything. Every post, every text, every timestamp. That afternoon, the casino compliance officer called back. We've confirmed the credit application was submitted using your personal information without authorization, she said. You have zero liability. We're cooperating with law enforcement. I asked for written confirmation. She promised it within the hour. 5 minutes after that, a bail bondsman called. 10% up front, he said casually. $800. We can have him out today. I hung up without responding. I wasn't rescuing anyone anymore. By early evening, the tone online shifted. People started asking questions. Why was Jason already discharged if he'd been brain dead 12 hours earlier? Why did the fundraiser description mention life support when the hospital records didn't? Why were there luxury photos from Tahoe posted less than 48 hours before the emergency? Someone flagged the GoFundMe, then another. At 6:14 p.m., I received an email. After reviewing submitted documentation, we have temporarily frozen this campaign pending investigation. Funds will not be released at this time. I forwarded that email to the detective with a single line, additional evidence of fraud. That night I cooked salmon, watched a movie, slept with every notification silenced. For the first time in my life, I wasn't bracing for the next crisis. I was letting consequences do the work I'd been forced to do for decades. And somewhere in the quiet, I realized something unsettling. They didn't fall apart because I refused to save them. They fell apart because I stopped lying for them. The call came Monday afternoon. Unknown Nevada number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my chest told me this one mattered. Deborah, my father said. His voice sounded shredded like he'd been coughing for hours. He didn't bother with greetings. "We need to talk." I didn't sit down. I walked to the balcony, slid the door open, and let the cold Denver air hit my face. "Jason's been in trouble for years," he said. "Not weekends, not slips, years." I stayed quiet. Online gambling at first, then casinos, then loan apps. 85,000 total before Tahoe. I closed my eyes. 18 months ago, he owed 30 grand. Your mother and I took out a reverse mortgage to cover it. Told ourselves it was a one-time thing. He promised he'd stop. He coughed hard. I heard airport announcements in the background. 4 months ago, it happened again. 55,000. We refinanced again. Maxed everything. The bank sent a final foreclosure warning last week. There it was, the truth they'd buried under emojis and lies. "We thought one big win in Tahoe would fix it," he said. "That's why we gave him cash." He said he had a system. I leaned against the railing. "He lost it all in 6 hours," my father whispered. "Then he started opening casino credit lines with fake information. When it collapsed, your mother panicked. She lied about him dying because we thought if you believed it was life or death, you'd pay without asking questions, like you always did." The city stretched out below me, sharp and clean. And now I asked. "We're out of moves," he said. "The house, the cars, your mother's jewelry, everything's gone or pledged. The only asset left is you." I felt a slow, hollow pressure settle behind my ribs. "If you take out a personal loan 100,000, we can save the house. Get Jason into rehab. One final time." I laughed, a single breath. "So let me understand," I said evenly. "You knew he was sick. You mortgaged the house twice to cover him. You lied about him dying to manipulate me, and now you want me to borrow 6 figures to save you from the consequences." "He's our baby boy," my father said. His voice cracked. "You've always been strong. You never needed us like he does. This is what family does." I stared at the mountains cutting into the sky. "That's the problem," I said. "You only ever needed me when something broke." Silence stretched. Then he whispered, "Please, your mother is destroyed. Jason's destroyed. Don't be this person." Funny, Jason already told me how this ends. My father started crying open, choking sobs. "If you don't help, we lose everything," he said. "Jason goes to jail. Your mother and I are homeless at 60. Is that what you want?" "No," I said. "But it's what you built." I paused. "And I'm done paying for it." He begged. He apologized. He promised change. I ended the call. That was the last time I ever spoke to my father. Within days, foreclosure notices went up. Neighbors sent photos of the yellow eviction sticker on the house where I grew up. 30 minutes to gather what they could. 23 years of equity gone. Not because I refused to save them, because I stopped lying to protect them. I didn't go see Jason because I missed him. I went because his public defender called. My work line, still don't know how he got it, and said Jason had listed me as his only approved visitor. A supervised session. Documented. Required apparently before sentencing. "A family reconciliation attempt," the attorney said. "You don't have to reconcile. We just need to say we tried." That was the phrase that got me. Say we tried. I'd spent my entire life trying. Showing up for one meeting wouldn't undo the boundaries I'd built. If anything, I wanted to hear whatever version of the story he was rehearsing before it showed up in a courtroom or online. The county facility smelled like disinfectant and fear. No phone, no belt. Empty your pockets. Lock everything away. They walked me into a small room with a table bolted to the floor. A counselor sat in the corner with a clipboard, eyes already tired. Jason came in wearing orange. The jumpsuit hung off him like it belonged to someone else. His hair was greasy. His eyes were red-ringed with shadows that fluorescent lights never let fade. He didn't smile, didn't reach for me. He sat down and slid a document across the table. "I signed a statement for the DA," he said. Flat. Everything I did. The fake ID, the casino credit application using your old address. All of it. I picked it up. 3 pages. Notarized. Clean bureaucratic language. No dramatics. "I treated you like a bank with a guilt button," he continued. "When you stopped paying, I tried to humiliate you online because I thought if enough people called you a monster, you'd cave. Like always. No tears. No theatrics. Just a man who'd had too much time alone with the truth." I waited. "Why now?" I asked. He exhaled slowly. "Because Lila came to see me last week." My jaw tightened. "She showed me screenshots," he said. "Discovery packet. Messages. Plans. She didn't panic. She scheduled everything." He pulled out a folder from under the table and slid it toward me. Text threads. Months old. Before Tahoe. Before the credit application. "If we push the family emergency angle hard enough, Deborah will crack." She always does. Life support sounds worse than broken ribs. People donate to dying not injured. Tag her employer. Make it about character, not money. My stomach dropped. There was a draft post dated 2 weeks before Tahoe. Shot list, caption templates, hashtag strategy, notes on which relatives to send it to first for maximum spread. Another message from our father. Her info is still in the family files from when she was your emergency contact. Use the old Denver address. The casino won't flag it right away. I stared at the pages. She helped you fill out the application, I said. Jason nodded, told me exactly what to fake. Said you'd been hoarding money and it was time someone made you pay it forward. He slid one last page across. A handwritten statement, in Lila's writing. A false confession, claiming I pressured him into using my information, that I knew about the credit line and backed out when it went bad. An exit strategy. She was going to burn you if I went down, he said quietly. I was her test case. The counselor's pen scratched furiously. So you're flipping on her, I said. Yes, he replied without hesitation. I'm drowning. And she tied the weights. He slid another document toward me, an affidavit naming Lila as a co-conspirator. Metadata. Screenshots. A recorded call where she coached him step by step. The DA said if I cooperate, they might reduce my sentence, he said. I'm not asking you to forgive me. There it was, the pause, the breath before the ask. I want to go to rehab, he said. Extended program. 90 days inpatient. 6 months outpatient. $8,000 the state won't cover. He pushed a promissory note template toward me. Blank. Pay the facility directly. Not me. I'll sign whatever you want. Repayment plan, wage, garnishment, everything. I leaned back studying his face, looking for the angle, the con. So let me get this straight, I said. You're offering me evidence to destroy Lila's life in exchange for me funding your rehab. That's the trade, he said. If you don't help, I do 6 months and come out with nothing but the same addiction. If you do, I get clean, and she answers for what she planned. I stood up. I'll think about it, I said. He nodded, didn't beg, didn't argue. Fair enough. I walked out with the folder under my arm and sat in my car for 20 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. 3 paths. Help him and cooperate. Don't help him and still cooperate. Help him but refuse to become their weapon. For the first time, the choice was actually mine. I didn't decide in the parking lot. I didn't decide that night either. I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat like it weighed 50 pounds, not paper. Evidence has gravity when it carries names you grew up with, when it rewrites childhood memories into timelines and screenshots and metadata. Ethan was on the couch when I walked in, laptop open, waiting without asking. He looked at my face and stood up. You don't have to tell me yet, he said. I know, I replied, and for once I meant it. I spent the night reading everything again. The messages, the drafts, the timestamps, the moment where planning crossed into predation. Lila didn't improvise a lie. She built a campaign. She didn't react to crisis. She manufactured one. She didn't just want money, she wanted a story with a villain, and she had already cast me. In the morning, I called the rehab facility Jason named and asked about direct payment. No cash to him, no reimbursements, no access. Structure only. Accountability only. They explained the program, the contracts, the reporting. I took notes, I thanked them, I didn't commit. Then I forwarded the affidavit to my lawyer with a single line, please advise on options and risks. No emotion, no narrative, just facts. By noon, the answer was clear, even if the decision wasn't easy. If I paid for rehab, I wasn't saving Jason. I was buying his chance to save himself, and only if the terms were airtight. If I cooperated against Lila, I wasn't becoming a weapon. I was telling the truth she counted on me to bury. If I did neither, I would still be free, but I'd be leaving a fire burning that would spread to the next person she chose. The fixer in me wanted to solve it cleanly. The survivor in me wanted distance. The adult I'd become wanted something else entirely. Boundaries that didn't leak. I called Jason's public defender. I'll cooperate, I said. I'll provide the evidence. I won't embellish. I won't posture. I'll tell the truth. A pause. And the rehab. I'll pay the facility directly, I said. Only if he signs a repayment plan with wage garnishment, financial transparency, and zero contact unless a counselor is present. One violation ends it. Another pause. Understood. Then I sent one final email to my lawyer. My HR contact already looped in, and the detective handling the case confirming my cooperation and attaching the complete file. I didn't call Lila. I didn't warn her. She'd had months to prepare. She didn't need my courtesy. The weeks that followed were quiet in the way storms are quiet once they move on. The DA accepted Jason's cooperation. Charges expanded. The internet turned on Lila as fast as it had turned on me. Platforms froze accounts. Sponsors vanished. The story she'd tried to sell collapsed under receipts. Jason entered rehab. I paid the facility. He signed everything. No calls, no favors, no backdoors. My parents didn't reach out again. The house was gone. The illusion with it. I changed my number, locked my credit, kept my life small and clean for a while. Ethan never pushed. He just stayed. Sometimes people ask if I regret it, if I feel guilty for not saving everyone. I tell them the truth. I didn't destroy my family. I stopped financing a lie. And in the quiet that followed, I finally built something they could never take from me.